Welcome tonight. This evening, we've got a very, very skilled and a premier motion stills photographer, which we'll be interviewing tonight, which will be awesome. As usual, if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment section tonight, and we'll try and get across those with Jasin. So Jasin has been working on huge films and huge productions such as Mad Max, Saw, and a couple of the Bourne movies as well. So Jasin has done a huge amount of work, and he's been doing such things from a very early age. He started photography at 16. So he's had some magical films that he's done and worked on, and he is a wealth of knowledge tonight. So before any ado, let me bring Jasin on, and we'll have some really good things to say and talk about, and learn a bit about Nikon as well as a brand, and Jasin's foray into photography. Welcome, Jasin. Thanks for being part.
Hey, Jax. Thank you. And thanks, team, for joining us tonight. We should have a bit of fun, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Jasin, now tell us all about your experiences in photography and how it all started for you.
It'll take a while, actually. If you want me to go right back to the early days, it's pretty funny story. So we started to my family come from a big newspaper family, and at school we were doing, we started doing photography at school and stuff, but we weren't really doing it. We were just going into the dark room, turning the light on, and then my mates and I'd go down the beach for a surf. So, but everyone thought that we were really dead keen into photography, and so I was a bit of a handful at school and at home. So my family helped me kind of get into a newspaper. Yes. And of course I got there and I knew nothing. But it actually really suited to me. I think that there was a little bit of genetic inheritance there with news and knowing, what's a good image. And I started at the Sunday Times in Perth on September 22, 1981. And then from there, I spent 10 years with newspapers in Australia, Hong Kong, and then in London. And then I got sick of London and came back to Australia and sort of fell into the film industry, to be honest.
Yeah, right. And what about photography grabbed you from an early age? Because I think from what I've read, you got into photography as soon as you finished school.
Yeah, I actually left school to go into it, and I don't know. I think it was more. I don't know where the visual side of things came from. I remember my grandfather was an editor, a managing editor of a newspaper, or many newspapers.
Yep.
But if anything happened, he'd bundle me into a car and would go off chasing it. And I remember going to I must have been 5 or 6, going to a light aircraft crash, and seeing we're driving along in Adelaide, and you could see this plane circling. It's like, hey, Pop, I think it's over there. And he's like, why do you say that? It's like, oh, there's a plane circling. And so that was kind of like my first foray into finding news.
Yeah.
And it's kind of went from there. And I've never, in my 25 years or whatever as being a photographer, I've never looked at myself as being an artist. I've only ever looked at myself being a storyteller. So I think that that's probably where it all comes from with the whole newspaper thing. And I was quite fortunate, early in my career, I was a darkroom technician, so I was able to see like 15 other photographers work and pick the eye teeth out of the styles that I like. So that was very, very helpful, which, you just don't get anymore. Everyone just sits in a room on their own and does their own thing. Yep. So, I used to print everyone's work, and then so I got
like is there like a networking base that you kind of built up early on, would you say, Jasin?
Yeah, I just think it was looking, I still don't read photography magazines or books or anything. I think it was just learning from these guys. And, it was newspaper photographers and magazine photographers are, some of the best in the world, and in those days it was a big time career.
Yeah.
So it was just fortuitous to be working with these, trailblazers that won lots of Walkley Awards and, all the Australian awards. And they were, my teachers, and I got to print their work for them. And so then when I finally got a cadetship, which is, like an apprenticeship,
Yep.
I was ready to go. But
I think
sorry?
I was going to say, I'm sorry, Jason, to cut you off. What I was going to say about you, from what I've learned already in the very little time that I've spoken to you, is how keen you are to pass your knowledge on. And for me, that sort of is poignant, because I feel like maybe that's what began your journey into photography, is you worked with some really nice photographers who were able to give you some knowledge, and I feel like you're paying it forward in some aspects too.
Dead set, Jax. Actually, I never thought about that, but I reckon it's true. And I really like, more than anything, the enthusiast. To me, the enthusiast photographers, they have photography for the pure love. And, professionals like myself and, the other guys here watching, there's Clifton from New York. No way. He got up 3 a.m.
We got some good action already in the comments section here, Jason. I reckon we're in for a big night.
So with those guys, it's I've learned a lot. I mean, judging competitions for Nikon and stuff like that, and doing talks with guys like yourself. I get to meet these people who, through the week sit in an office, and then come the weekend go out trailblazing. And as much as I adore and love photography, it's not my pure love, because it's like I'm putting food on the table for my family, whereas these people, it's just love. And I admire that a great deal.
Yeah, from a lot of the YouTubes I've watched, I've seen a bit of your channel, which I think is great. For anyone that wants to learn a bit more about photography and settings, especially in the Nikon ecosystem, should definitely check out your channel, Jason, because I do find it a really good resource. But I feel like in some ways, stepping out of the motion still side of things, which is more your day-to-day, and doing things like, I've seen the motorbike shots that you were doing, and that seems to invigorate you to some degree. Would you say, pulling out of the day-to-day and doing something and going back to the love of it is something that you find inspiring?
Oh man, we got to do more of these together, because you like nailing me a bit here, and that is so true. My muse is Corey Creed, who's a world champion Moto X champ. And whenever I've got a new camera to test for Nikon, it's like, hey Corey, we've got a new camera.
I can see the smile on your face.
I know, right? And he gets it as well. He loves it as well, because we go out and we just do some crazy stuff. It's all safe, because I mean, the first thing in what I do, shooting action the way that I do, is you got to have an exit. You got to know where to go if something goes horribly wrong. And there's some shots there of a shot of Corey, which I was playing around, with a 14 to 24, and I've got his bike in the air as it's flowing past me, full frame, 14 to 24, and like on a couple of takes, it's like, nudge me on the shoulder, and he's like, "You all right?" It's like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I got an exit."
One thing I noted when I was watching it, I was like, you are pretty damn close to the action stuff. And is that an element that's coming from your stills photography, where you kind of, are you a bit numb to the dangers that are involved? Like, obviously you stay very wary of everything that's going on around you, but like some people that might have been a bit hesitant, you seem to know exactly where to stand. Is that something that just becomes sort of instinct after a while?
Well, I think that if it's got to be well planned to start with. And then you can't have the fear. If you've got some fear after you've planned it so meticulously, then you're going to get yourself into trouble. You just got to know, right, I'm going, if it comes this way, I'm going that way. If it comes this way, I'm going that way. And, especially with something like a vehicle, when a vehicle hits something, it doesn't all splatter out sideways. It all goes forward, right? So, oh, that looked like 3D then. So it's you kind of know where to be, and there's some shots down here further, which I can talk about that actually with Do you want to go and show that
Yeah.
the James Bond, the DB9 flying through the air from
I'll
Spectre?
pull them up right now. I reckon I could get there. Give me one. Get Phil to budge them on right now. Phil.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Is this?
So go down to the DB. There's a DB9 flying through the air, and it's in a night shot. We can come back to these.
A bit further down on the list. I can't remember where I am.
Yeah, we're getting close. No. Yeah, here we go. So this, for example, here, right? This is a 50mm 1.4. I shot at 500 at 2.
Is this James Bond?
Yeah, that's James Bond. That's from Spectre. And this is a camera mounted on the ground, probably a 750 in those days. Now I use my my Z6 IIs, and I've got to say the Z6 II for this is the best camera that I've ever used as a remote camera or a crash cam. It's absolutely astounding. But anyway, go to the next one.
Yep.
So that's me about 75 meters to 100 meters down this skinny little alleyway, and I'm shooting with a 200 f2, same exposure, 500 2. But what's happening here, right, is the way I do it is I shoot. I don't have it, but I shoot with my camera, and then I'll have a remote, and I'll fire it at the same time. Like I don't use it on the hot shoe; I use it physically in my hand. So
So you're using.
Sorry?
So you're using the LCD rather than the viewfinder in this instance?
No, I'm looking through because I shoot with both eyes open so that I can see if anything goes wrong.
Yeah.
But I also like the viewfinder so that I'm isolated. It's like peripheral vision, I guess. But this one here, so I'm in the doorway, and I've got Frosty, one of the stunt guys. I always have a stunt guy with me when I'm doing stuff like this, and he's got hold of my black rapid strap and also my sash belt. And as this is coming towards me, like I'll keep on firing, and Frosty or whoever's with me will pull me out of the way. So I'll just keep doing my stuff, and I'll sit to the guys and like, I'm going to fire, you're going to pull me out of the way. And so and they leave it till the very last second because that's what they do. So that's my exit.
Yeah, great. Amazing. And what I like about some of the photos you've shared with me already, and we've talked about it, and you've said, on this shot I was using a 200mm. It's almost instinctual, your knowledge of what lens and what camera you used at the time, because you're probably weighing up like at a situation where you've got, I'd assume you don't have much time to go through your kit bag of lenses. Is there going to be some instinctual where I'm going to shoot it this way, I'm going to use this lens before the shot has even happened? Like how do you choose a lens based on the scenario you're in?
Well, first of all, it'll be light and access. So depending on how much light it is, it will be what lens I use most of the time. And then obviously what access that I'm allowed to get. That's why I like shoving a remote rig in there so that it's getting a shot which I could never get. A human can't go there. It's like you're getting this perspective that unless you just shove a camera there, you just can't get. So for me, it's really exciting, and I don't know what the shot is until afterwards because I just don't get to see it. With my remote rigs, I'll have them all set up ready to go. Like I have my bag back in the office at the studio now, and if you said, right, we've got a stunt going off in 5 minutes, I can pull it out. They're ready to go. I've got the lenses on them. I've got the mounts there for it, and I can mount onto anything, whether it be scaff pipe or a lot of the time I'll use a platypod. Jax, have you heard of platypod? It's like a little sled. Yeah, it's like a little steel sled, and then on top of it you have a spigot and then a ball head.
Yep.
And the reason why I do that is I try not to, unless it's mounted to a vehicle, I try not to hard mount anything, because if something does hit my camera, it'll just slide out of the way. And like with the tripod, I'll set it up so that if something hits it, it'll fall over, and chances are that it's going to save the camera more than if it got smashed straight into a wall, you know. So
it's like a planned fall almost.
100% a planned fall.
Yeah, right.
Like I literally set it up so that if it gets hit, the damage is limited. And you know, I mean, like
There you go.
I've had my cameras hit by a lot of things, you know, airplane wheels and all sorts of stuff, and I haven't broken a camera yet. So you know, pretty excited about that.
I think we were talking about it a little bit earlier with Steve from Nikon, and you're pretty proud of that fact as well, which is pretty amazing given your career and your history and the things that you've done. Have you broken bones, or is this like any personal injuries as well, or you've been pretty safe with it?
No, the most I've done is rolled an ankle, but like I said, you know, it go when I'm doing something like this, I go first before I can even get a position. I go to safety first, and I say, right, I'm going to speak to stunts. This is where I want to be. Then I'll go to stunts, and it'll be like, can I be there? And I'm like, yep. And then the first assistant director, and you know, there's a few other people that this is what I'm doing, and everyone signs off on it. And so it's not just me and one other person, or just me.
Right.
Film sets are incredibly safe environments. It'll blow you away how safe a film set is.
Yeah, right.
And it's actually really cool. And you know, I want to get home at the end of the day to see you know, my son Hunter and my wife Maria, and
For sure.
you know, but I still love getting a great shot.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like if you play it too safe, you'll get safe images, right, to some degree. So there's got to be some element of risk.
As Cappy used to say, if your photo's not good enough, you weren't close enough. So
Correct.
You know, and it's pretty true.
Yeah,
and
good point.
And you know, and like I said, you know, it's now, you know, you can get that closeness by shoving a camera in there, and you know, I'm talking up the mounted rigs a lot, but you know, I like doing both. I get a kick out of, you know, having a handheld practical camera and firing a remote. Hey, Jax, can we go while we're onto this? Just go back to that series from Born before the DB of the car flying through the air. It's go to the first one if you can, and we'll flick through them.
Yeah, buddy.
Because this will give you an example of where I put my cameras.
All right. Phil's on the standby as well.
Yeah. We're
going Born.
No, we're going back to still on Bond. It was just near the DB5. It was a car right in the air. So go to the first one of that.
Back this way.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll just flick through these slowly. This is a camera that I got set up, which probably would have been this is how close it gets. Go to the next one. I love this series. And it's like boom, and then the next part, it just explodes around my camera. And it's like, you know, who doesn't want to do that? So something like this.
I feel like this is evidence that God shoots Nikon. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I reckon. And I had 4 or 5 cameras on this, and I'm actually down to the right, right in front of where this car is coming towards. But I was on top of a big rock, and all I had to do if it started to go sideways is jump down behind this. I mean, I'm talking a rock taller than me. I might have rolled an ankle or something, but I would have been safe. So, and you know, I'm the only one there. It was a position where they didn't want to put anyone else. It was like, no, you've got to get yourself out of the way so you don't trip over anyone.
Are you pleading your case to these? Like, who are you speaking to? You're not obviously speaking to the director. It would be someone else affiliated with the movie. Who do you speak to as your first reference and go, please let me go behind this rock here?
Sometimes it's the director, like Sam Hargrave on the Extraction films. He just lets me do anything, and it's like, really? Yeah, we'll make it happen. And yeah, so it's really, really kind of cool. But like I said, you know, first I'll speak to the stunts first, then I'll go to safety, then I'll go back to stunts. But it's like we work it out, and the stunt guys, they enjoy it too because they want to get shots of their stunts, and also they enjoy me being enthusiastic about it as well.
Yeah.
So, and you can even see a drone in the background of that one as well. You know,
Yeah,
So
pretty epic.
there's a hierarchy and there's a journey to get the access. But as still photographers, we're only as good as the access that we create for ourselves. And
Yep.
what I mean by creating for ourselves, I mean the help that you get from every single crew member on a film set. They're the ones. Without them, I don't get my shots at all.
Yeah, sure. For sure.
But we could start at the beginning if you want and just flick through a couple.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do that because we'll start talking a bit more again about your earlier life and then your first foray into motion picture stills as well, because I think that's going to be quite important. And we were talking obviously about your early days in as a press photographer or as a journo. Here we go here. So we got some images up now. So this is you as a young lad, Jason.
Yeah, that's in Alo. That's in the Philippines. That was we went and did it. I was working for the South China Morning Post, and we went down there to do a story on the MNLF,
Yep.
which is the Moros, and they were kidnapping photojournalists and that, and then they were letting them go. It was just do a story, and we went down to do that as well, and that was just talking to the military of where we might find the guys, and we found them up in the mountains, and that was all a bit exciting. And
yeah, wow.
And then this was a shot of mine that was on the front page of the International Herald Trib. This was in Korea, and it was one of the biggest riots they had over there. But it was also the first time that the students overthrew the riot police, and it was pretty funny because I was living in Hong Kong, and my mum and dad had been traveling, and they were coming to see me in Hong Kong, and this came out on the front page, right? And my dad is sitting on the plane, and he's reading it, and he opened it up and he sees my name, and it's like turns around to my mum and goes, "Well, Jason's here. I'm not sure whether we're going to be seeing him in Hong Kong." Yep. And because it was the days before, there's no mobile phones or anything.
Sure.
So
just sending postcards.
Exactly. So they had a lonely trip on their own without seeing their son.
What did these types of experiences early on in your life and your career, did you feel like you grew quite fast as a person and become quite professional early on? Is this something that sort of pulled you out of the comfort blanket a little bit and forced you to be active and aware, but also, quite understanding of drama and how emotion can play into imagery as well?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like I left school when I was 15 or 16, and then I left my home in Western Australia to go over to Queensland when I was 17. I just got my driver's license.
Yeah.
And so, I had, I still have great parents that, they cut me loose. I can't believe they let me do what I did, but I think they realized that I needed to do it. And, along with their guidance, I've become the person that I am now. And all these experiences, especially living in Asia, I mean, like I feel very Asian inside. I know that sounds weird, but I was there all on my own, and I had no one to look after me. And I like that. I like that way of life and the way of doing business and, that sort of thing. And it gave me a sense of spiritualness too. I mean, like I'm not a Buddhist, but I have a lot of compassion for things. I might not be a great person all the time, but I try to be mindful, I guess, of of people around me, especially especially the underdog. I appreciate people that don't quite have a life as blessed as myself.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And one thing I did notice from a couple of your videos, your black Rapid straps, they seem to have covered in beads. You want to tell us a bit about why the beads are so personalized on your black Rapid strap?
Well, that goes right back to the Asian, growing, my first overseas posting, and they're mala beads, and it's a Tibetan Buddhist and tradition, and it's it's to do with prayers, and you touch the beads and say the Mani Padme Hum and that sort of thing, and you know, that chills me out. You know, I think you can see I'm a bit of an excitable lad,
Yeah.
and I don't know whether it's ADD or whatever, but
Yeah.
I do get a bit excited and I need to chill out. And, you know, like my son pays out of me sometimes because I'm on my phone at work.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're on your phone at work. It's like, yeah, because I want to zone out before I take this shot, or, you know, I'm actually thinking. So I need to be, you're so on the money with so much that you've been saying, that I do have to zone out to zone in,
Yeah.
so to speak. You know, it's
Sure.
really weird. You know, with Mad Max, where are we at? I can get to that in a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. We can start.
Yeah, let's just flick them through them.
Let's start
This is
going through if you like.
Charlize. This was Eon. Back to Charlize if you want. Yeah, this is just one of Charlize Theron. This was on Eon Flux, and anyone that's seen the anime, she catches a fly in her eyelashes, and we're doing that shot, and then she just leaned over to have a chat, and we're having a chat, and we're like, oh my gosh, stop. And it's like I just rattled off like 4 frames or something, and kind of nailed that. And this was in the days when I knew nothing about anything, and but I could shoot an action. Could shoot. I don't know. I can just see things and I can put it on my camera.
Would you attribute this type of image to something that maybe in your younger days when your boss might have taken the battery out of your film camera just so you could see the light a bit more? Is it something that would attribute to something like this image?
Yeah, 100%, man. You're gonna tell them that I got kicked out of photography school in a minute, aren't you?
No, but
yeah.
now I know. So
we can go through. What we got next there?
All right, next we got Big Thor, Big Chris.
Oh, Big Dog.
Yeah.
Hemsy. Yeah, honestly, I won the lottery when I found him. I've done 6 or 7 films with him now, and I spent nearly 3 years almost exclusively with him.
Yeah,
Best guy you'll ever meet. And
Yep.
I put this photo up the front there because this thing smashed my Instagram. It's like at the time I had like, you know, 60,000 followers or something like that. So it's not like a massive following. And then this image got 500 or 600 likes or something. 500,000, right. Sorry. So 500,000 likes from like a Instagram of 50,000. And then it opened the doors to you know, to a lot more. But you know, I love doing these shots. I love getting the cool, like we'll get down there a little bit further down the track, but
yeah,
I really enjoy that the director's performance is what I call it. Sure. It's like when the actor just gives everything to the director. Like I don't like doing, we'll get down to it with Charlize in a minute anyway, but I don't like doing setups because I feel like it sucks the life out of an image. But you know, you get the director's performance and it just stops you dead, I think.
Do you remember what you shot this with, lens-wise and camera-wise, just quickly?
Yeah, it would have been a Z6 II, and that to me, I think would be my 70-200, and it would have been 2.8, and it probably would have been 1/60th of a second. I don't really think too much about ISO. I think more about, because I shoot action mainly, I'm governed by shutter speed. So I have a tendency to pick a shutter speed and shoot everything wide open. I don't like going below f2, but you know, with the new Z mount lenses, oh my gosh, they've just blown me away, and I'll shoot them, you know, wide open all day long. The 50mm 1.2. I don't use it all that often, but when I do, it just knocks my socks off.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
You know, I mean, Nikons can see in the dark like a cat full of carrots anyway. So it's like, you know, you combine it with the lens and the ISO, and you just, you know, made for me.
Yeah, awesome. Well, tell us about the Matrix quickly, Jason, because this is what started it all for you, really.
Yeah, it really did. You know, I mean, like it was Warner Brothers, and they didn't. It was a little movie happening in Australia called The Matrix.
Yep.
And they didn't have the budget to bring anyone over, so this little guy got a Guernsey.
Yep.
And it set me up for my entire career. You know, for many years after, I could have just had one line resume, the Matrix, and I probably would have got hired. And the images still resonate to this day.
Yeah.
And I think my it's interesting actually. Go up to the next one, Jax.
Yeah, buddy.
Well, this one is quite popular. I don't like using superlatives about my images, but it's kind of an iconic sort of pop culture image from the Matrix.
Sure.
It's not me. I just captured it.
Yeah. Well, I guess there were some questions that I got in here about people in the audience wanting to know about photographing action scenes or fight scenes. What sort of learnings have you had on set where you've had to capture moments like these, and what tips, I guess, could you give other people that are trying to photograph action, these type of sequences as well?
Well, these days with cameras like Z9s and stuff, all the manufacturers are doing great cameras. You've got to really pick where your focus point wants to be. Now, when I'm shooting a scene, I will, this scene, as you know, went on for quite some time.
Yeah.
But this was the image I wanted. So I'll position myself in an area where I'm going to capture the image that I want. So I might completely disregard the whole of the scene, and then I'll just punch in on this one.
Right.
And I did get a few goes at this, but I couldn't see anything because it was back in the film days. And I think it would have been a F4S, I think. And I also was using, I don't know if anyone here has ever heard of it, but it was a Nikon RS. It was an underwater camera which they made to succeed the Nikonos, I guess, but they didn't make too many of them. And I used that on this as well. But this was this particular shot. I know it was a 50mm, and I used to be the king of primes. I always loved a prime. The 85-1.4 is my favorite lens of all time.
Yep.
But zoom lenses weren't up to the scratch in those days, and now it's like you pick up a zoom and just blow you away,
Yeah, for sure.
I think especially the S-Class.
I think zoom's now at the point where it's almost shooting primes almost through the whole range of focal lengths, which is pretty crazy when you think about it.
It really is, and with them not bleeding focus and stuff like that as well for your cinema work, it's just so cool. One of my favorite lenses, which I never take off. Oh, just hold on that for a tick. One of my favorite lenses that I like to use now outside is a 24-120 f4. I can't really use it inside because it's not fast enough.
Sure.
But I could shoot days and days with just that lens. I mean, I think it's a beautiful focal length. I wouldn't mind seeing like a 50-200, but I don't know the science too well of. Everyone goes, Jason, it would be like so big. But anyway.
The engineers would go crazy.
Yeah, I know, right? Just don't answer Boland's emails. Now, this image here of Keanu, I put this in here now because for many years I hated this image. There was nothing it did absolutely nothing for me at all. But I rediscovered it like 5 or 6 years ago. And to me, it actually sums up the Matrix really, really well. There's the entry down the escalator. There's the exit for him in the phone booth. It's like, Smith is coming through there. It's just, that it's hectic.
Yeah.
And this image here is actually more indicative of my style now. And the reason why I put it in there is because all you guys out there, your team, go back through your back catalogue, because you'd be surprised how many great images that you've actually grown into that style that you didn't realize that you had when you first shot it. And it's really worth going back through old images and go, hold on, I can do a lot with this. So,
good point. No, really good point. Now we got some Mad Max stuff as well, which is a huge film as well. Which we'll go through as well. We got poster again. There we go. And so where are you positioned in these? Like, do you know where you're going to have to be at all times to get the best shot, or is it just kind of like you're in the moment, like you're in the flow type of thing?
I like to ride on things. I like to harness myself onto vehicles. If you go back to the other one with the flame, yep. We
Too
can
many.
that one, yeah.
Yep.
So I'm in the back of the war rig and I'm harnessed in there, and and the craziness that you see right there was as crazy where I was, but again, very, very safe. But I will take whatever position I can get. If someone goes, "Hey, do you want to give this a crack?"
Yep.
I'll go yes, and then I'll also sit there and I'll go, I know the answer might be no, but is there any chance? And then like, yeah. And the thing is with all these guys with the whole stunt departments and safety, they know that once I say that I'm going to be somewhere, I don't move. Like, I'll stick to what I've said that I'm going to do.
Yep.
And I think that I get given quite a lot of leeway because they know that if they've said something to me, even if I see the shot, if I could move another half a meter and it's a better shot, I won't move because I've said that I'm not moving.
Yep.
And I might miss the shot. But in this case, this is one of my favorites. It's an absolute cracker.
It is.
And talking about me saying it's an absolute cracker to you guys, there's a lot of images of mine that I don't like, and that's healthy and it's fine, but it's also really healthy and it's really good to like images of your own as well. That also doesn't mean that other people like it. Like, I get a lot of criticism about the way that I graded these images.
Yep.
But they actually colored they based the color of the film on a lot of what I did and then just saturated it.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I get a little bit of a halo with the way that I've done it. But
Yep.
There's a theory, and you can see that on my Insta and that. Oh, sorry, on my YouTube, that I talk about how I thought about creating this apocalyptic world, and this is exactly what it would do. It's a thin atmosphere, it's the yellow cake, it's the uranium seeping through the ground, and
the
just
harshness of the
dehydration.
conditions. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
And this again, I'm like, strapped in the back in between two flamethrowers. It's like, I'm still speechless now because it's like, it's just rad to have this access.
Yeah.
I'm more stuntman than photographer in many cases.
Yeah. You must be pinching yourself in these types of moments where you're like, well, this is pretty badass.
Oh man, I love doing these talks because I get to talk about these images and I get to relive them again.
Yeah.
And if my excitement comes through about an image that I've managed to make, there's a lot that goes into it, and I think the excitement of it is more the fact that I can't believe that I was able to get the access to get this in the first place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because so many other photographers would just accept it and they'd be off on the side and on a long lens. But no, live kappa, close is better. I love a long lens. There's you'll see a lot of long lens in my work, but I love getting in there.
Oh, awesome. Got some more Mad Max here.
Yeah,
so you were talking before too, and what was a good point is like we'll show it in a section with some images, but you're obviously competing with various people that are on set, and then most of the time they'd probably be in a position in front of yours to some degree, and this is a good show of like capturing the action and capturing the moment and the drama, but also obviously being unobtrusive in the regards to how you captured the image. How tough do you find that, and how do you find a way to work around taking photos when there's so many people on set, especially for the bigger productions for the guys out there?
It's just part of it, I mean, it's literally the way that I've lived for the last 20 years of that. When I was a newspaper photographer, I don't want to say I had a bad attitude because that's not right. But I thought that it was all about me. And then, to be honest, being on a film set was probably the best thing that happened to me as a person and as a personality, because I'm the last in line for everything. And, I've got to make way for everyone. And by doing that, they actually make way for me. I don't want anyone to compromise, but they'll let me tuck in right next to them. You know, like a cameraman, the camera operators, I'll be like, right, I'm going to be close to you here. If it makes you feel uncomfortable, you let me know and I'll get out of the way. And 99% of the time, everyone's just like, no, Jace, come and dance, you know? And we get in there and like, you know, this one, I really like this because it's like, someone described it to me once as an apocalyptic biblical zombie Western. And kind of, and I told George Miller about that just recently, and he's like, "Oh gosh,"
I love that.
But it is. It's kind of. It's got everything. It's got everything there, you know.
For sure.
But anyway,
awesome.
And I just love motorbikes. My best friend in the world was Barry Sheen, and you know, we only did this once, I think, and it was like I was having a chat, and it's like the bike came past, and I would have loved another chance because I played it a little bit safe. I shot it at like 500th, but because I wanted a little bit of movement in the sand, but I didn't want too much. But then I thought later, would it have been better slower shutter, or would it have been better super high shutter? And I think normally when I'm photographing things like sand and water and snow, I like to shoot around 1/60th or 200th so that I get that movement through it. But I think the pinwheel on this could have benefited from like a super high shutter and just frozen it all. But you know, I don't know.
I think it looks pretty exceptional in its own right. I like having a bit of movement in photographs like this, because when it's stagnant, it almost looks like fake, I guess is probably the word I'd describe it. So I think with this, at least, you know, you've got some motion and it's showing something is actually happening and things are operating as they should. So yeah, I think in its own regard, I think it's a very, very nice photo.
Oh, thanks, bud. Yeah, I mean, a little bit of movement adds life to an image. It really does.
Agree.
Now this series here, I'll quickly touch on this. Before, when I was saying about, you know, the director's performance, that, you know, I don't like the setups. I like to capture the raw emotion as it happens in front of me. This is a classic example of it. This is, you know, Charlize as Furiosa in the desert, you know, can't find the green place. And she's giving it everything there. Now, sure, I can go up to later and say, hey, you know, I missed that. Can you do another one for me? And she would do it. But you're never going to get a performance like this. You're never going to get them to give it to us. And I always sit there and I say, you know, once cut's called, you can almost see the air expire, the shoulders drop, the body crunches. It's like everything's gone. Now, if you flick to the next image, it'll show you exactly that. And that's it. You know, that's without the grade. That's just the raw. That's cuts being called. And, you know, that's it. And for me to go up to her now and say, hey, CT, you know, can you do that scream again? She'd be like, of course she'd do it, but it wouldn't, and flick back to the other one. But it wouldn't be that, would it?
Not going to be that.
It's really important, I think, for a photographer to go out and capture the raw emotion and not rely on setups.
For sure. In regards to interaction with everyone on set, do you have time where you can try and capture moments with actors and actresses, or do you prefer most of it to run through the motions and you're just capturing it as a fly on the wall type photographer, or how does it work, or is there a little bit of compromise either way?
Yeah, I prefer doing it like I said, you know, I prefer not to do the setups, but a lot of the time, you know, photographers get to understand the way that the cast and the crew get to understand the way that I work, and usually it's because I've seen some great light or just a pose that they're doing, and then they'll give me a little bit of movement, you know, through it. You know, there's some great actors that I work with a lot, and they know it, and we just work it a little bit, and you know, you don't even have to say anything. Like, I'm Mr. Chatty McChatty, as you can figure out, but when I'm actually on the set shooting like this, I'm actually really quite quiet. I know there's like 100 crew laughing right now, but but I do have respect for what everyone has to do, and I 100% understand if an actor or a director doesn't want you actually even in the eye line or near the eye line because it's distracting. It's like, hey, of course I'll get out of the way. And if you do that, then you're more inclined for them to give you a little bit of leeway. Again, it comes back to access and like I said, I can bang on about access all night long. Access and eye lines are the most important thing. You get an eye line wrong, it looks like you're frightened. Yep. And you get an eye line right, and it looks like you're not there.
Jason, from the sounds of you're talking and speaking about your experiences on set, it sounds like it's quite a family kind of occasion almost, where everyone respects everyone's role so deeply, and that's why everyone's on the film itself in the beginning. But it sounds like everyone understands and respects everyone's role, and because you're obviously spending a lot of time together and a lot of time on the road, how important is it to build a relationship with the team that you work with?
Oh man, it's your family, it's your film family, and we joke about having set wives and all that sort of stuff, and it's just your friends that you hang out with, and the younger crew, they call me, their lost uncle, and little stuff like that. And you take on, as I've got older, you can take on a bit of a fatherly role with the younger crew, and then with the older crew you share a lot of the stories, so and I've got a lot of us have been working together on the same films for 30 years, and I've done so much work internationally now that I can go on a film set almost anywhere, and I'll actually know someone. And you get on a film and you get your click, and you very quickly move into a groove of making a home, so to speak, and a family unit, and you all hang out together, and it's you miss your family, and I'm lucky enough that I've been able to take my family with me, for many years. And it's only since my son's ice hockey's got in a little bit in the way, and my wife needs a life of her own, and so we compromise a little bit there. But I don't want to take them away from that. It's selfish for me in some ways to drag them away with me. And my wife's from Berlin, so when we get European jobs, she loves it because it's like, bang, we're there. So it's I have one main saying with work, and it's make the job work for you, don't work for the job. And I think if you can take that, you're going to be a happy person at work, and you're going to be a happy person at home, and you're going to be have happy clients because you're doing great work.
Yeah, awesome. That's really good advice. And going towards the imagery here as we flick through again, this is obviously showing you in a bit of action here. Yeah. These are you said with deep respect you like getting up there and then getting the dirty work and getting on the rigs and having your gear on the rigs. But how is the change over to mirrorless? Now you're obviously using the Z6, the Z7, but you've been a lifelong Nikon shooter. How do you find the mirrorless experience has changed the way you shoot?
Well, the Z9 is a camera which we all dreamed about. The mirrorless as unit photographers, because we used to have a big lunchbox, a sound blimp, so that the cameras didn't make too much noise. It would cut out like 95%, but that 5% is very, very loud. But the mirrorless, oh my gosh, it's like completely revolutionized things. I talk about shoving cameras into spots. I could never do that with an eyepiece. And now I literally can stick a camera underneath and through holes into anything. And
I've got your old setup here too. I'm just gonna
holding my jacket. The
skateboard even gets its shot. But this was your kit. This is your bread and butter here for a long time. This looks like the pre-mirrorless kit Oh, there's some mirrorless down the
Yeah,
bottom.
it's a
Okay,
mirrorless,
I
but it was
stand
just at the
corrected.
beginning of it. And
Yeah.
my skateboard actually is in my car now here. So I actually don't travel without a skatey. But yeah, this is sound blimp there. So that was a D5 in there.
This
And
is
then a
something I
7
didn't even
700.
consider, Jason. Like I was like, oh yeah, like obviously shooting on set is fine, but we've only had the silent shutter technology for a little time, really.
Yeah.
And talking about this, so this is an Acotech product, I believe.
Yeah.
You
I helped
mentioned in
design it with Alan and Phil, and you know, Acotech makes some insanely good products, and this was one of them. And you know, so many of the film industry moved over to this. We used to use Jacobson, which was the original, and they're still a great blimp. But yeah, that's
there he is, Blimpy boy. That's quite. Is that a big heavy setup once it's all rigged
oh
up
my
like
gosh,
that, or
yeah, that's why I had guns like Fro.
almost like Chris level? But
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
that's insane when you think about how far we've come. And then this isn't too far backwards either. Like this is probably only about 10 years ago, would you say?
Oh no,
This type of setup.
it's 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah, because
Jesus.
it was Z6.
Yeah.
Z6 is in the shot. So, and I was still using it
Not true.
because I couldn't give up the beautiful D5. I love that camera. So I still used it. Like you've got the shot there, and you know, lots of my action stuff was used on that. But I need to do an update. I'm gonna get hold of my mate Scotty Belsner and Wes McNeil and get down to his studio, and I think we need to do an update of this.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're watching, Scott, I know that you're there.
Awesome. But no, that's it's amazing. And just hearing like the way you spoke about in this video, anyone who wants to check out the video, it's up on Jason's YouTube channel, but he goes through all your gear and why you love each individual lens and your relationship with the lenses. How important is trusting and respecting the gear that you shoot with, Jason?
You know, people talk about the film industry as in, you know, oh yeah, but you do like 10 takes. It's like when you're doing an action sequence, you don't do 10 takes. A lot of the time it's one.
Yeah, true.
I wouldn't have the career that I have if it wasn't for Nikon. And, you know, being a Nikon ambassador is an incredible honor. And, you know, I do take it seriously. I get into trouble sometimes when I say the wrong thing, but it's from the heart. And it's just, you know, I adore these cameras and you know, back to the Z9 really quickly. I know not everyone's got a Z9. You know, I'm filming on a Z30. I have Z6 IIs. I have Z7 IIs.
Yep.
You know, through the range, the Z50. That, you know, in the a lot of the tech that's in these cameras, we get in our professional cameras further down the line, with the exception probably of the Z9, because that's the first time I've actually had something apart from frame rate and low light capability.
Yep.
That they're throwing all this tech at us, and I feel so at one with this camera that you know, I talk about the D9, the D9, the D5. That's in the future.
Yeah.
The D5, and there was limits for me with that camera.
Yeah.
Now, the Z9, there are no limits. I can do whatever I want. It's completely silent. There's, you know, talk about, you know, mirrorless. This thing's shutterless. It's like, what? So, you know, I have no idea. I have no idea where the future's going. But if you can go from a D5 to a Z9, well, then I don't know what to predict.
Sure.
You know, the only thing that you could possibly hope for is even better noise, you know, low light quality capability, and I think that's got to be around the corner. You know, I think that all the R&D would be just banging on about that.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I'll mention too, because I did get a lot of questions about it, but your gear and your preferred lens choice now. If you were to nail it down to a top three, and someone here was assigned a job as being a stills photographer on a movie set, what are your top three lenses? What would you go to be for people at home?
Oh, so easy. You'd have your staple 70 to 200, 24 to 70, and I would throw in whatever 50 mil you could afford.
Yeah, right.
And
easy as that.
And you can, easy as that. In fact, to the point that some days if it's massive low light action, I'll just put my 50 mil 1.2 and I'll try and shoot the whole day just with that lens. It's so it's so much fun. 85, if there's an 85 fast 85 that comes out, of course I'm going to get it, and it's going to be used for a lot. But yeah, that'll be the three lenses. Z6 IIs, great cameras. They're really made for on-set work. But if you can afford it, a Z9, and you probably never have to buy another camera again. That's actually not a good sales pitch, but you can spend your money on the S class instead. But yeah, the Z, honestly, I've never felt at one with a camera, and there's nothing that I want more.
Yeah, great.
Out of it.
No, that's great. Now, just some accessories for those at home too. What are some accessories you couldn't live without on a film set?
Ooh, Black Rapid strap. Can't live without that.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. They're amazing. It's just great. Keeps everything out of the way. It's just gunsling, bang, up, got it. As much as I love a traditional strap on a film set, the only thing for me is that. Like I said, the Platypod for mounting rigs. If you haven't seen them, they are so good. And what else? Pocket Wizards. Pocket Wizards are my go-to. I'm not giving too much away there because they're tricky to use.
Yeah, I've seen you explain your process with the Pocket Wizards, but it sounds pretty full on how you kind of just place them a bit everywhere. So if one misfires or the channels gets interrupted, at least you've got a couple more lying around the set.
Yeah, and there's a couple of other little things too, which I won't go into too much, but I have to compete with RF, so you have to figure out a way to get the signal through. And in the old days before I'd learned how to use them, I could literally be sitting 3 meters underneath a crane with my remote, and the RF would block it out. But I've figured a way around that now, which is pretty lucky. And I need a wireless system. The new system that Nikon's come out with is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But for the moment, I'm still on wireless and on the Pocket Wizards, and I'm keen to give anything a try, to be honest.
Yep.
But I'm a bit old and crusty, and I stick to what I know.
Nothing wrong with that if the quality films that you've been on is any indication, Jason. But just another point too in regards to settings and cameras, regardless of what camera you're on, what would you recommend to someone starting out maybe to do a bit of stills photography on a set? What your go-to settings might be, just as a rough indication. Obviously, it would change from shot to shot, but what's a rough a setting look like for you?
Oh, look, guys, this works for everyone, whether you're going out doing a family, you're going on holiday, for every camera, shoot it on manual.
Yep.
Don't go auto exposure. You're never going to learn anything about light if you do that. You've got this beautiful big EVF, in the Z30, some cameras, they don't have an EVF, they've just got the screen, but you're seeing the exposure live. Now, the important thing is to set the brightness on the EVF and the screen to actually match what you're seing. A lot of people will leave it on auto. Again, there's no point in doing that. You've got these two eyes, and you should use them, and you can feel it. You got to know, your aperture and your shutter on the wheels. It's easy to remember which direction to go to put more light in or to take more light out. manual is the way to go all the way. You know, the ISO, you know, I'm not sure what the Nikons are, but a lot of the cameras are native 800 ISO, and I should know what Nikon is. I think it might be around that. So, you know, 800 ISO, that's quite a high shutter. So, I mean, shutter ISO. So, you know, you're getting great quality out of that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, don't peak it. Don't peak it too far. I like to stick around 6400, 12,800 if I have to. But
yeah,
you know, 6400 is my top of the range for everyday work. And then if I've got a big action scene, then I'll push it over the limit there.
Yep.
2.8 or wide open. I shoot wide open nearly on everything. I like to make the subject pop. I like to just have the eyes sharp and everything else just pings off around it. You know, drop the background out. So yeah, I mean, as far as settings go, you know, the only thing to sit there and say is, you know, shoot it at, you know, shoot manual. And I mean, I actually have a really good settings video for that works for all Nikon Z cameras.
Yep.
And you know, go and have a check out of that. You know, but the best thing about looking at those videos too is that it can also tell you what you don't like. So I might say something that I've used, and you go, "Oh, that's stupid, Roland," and it's like, well, that's good because you're thinking and you're making the camera your own. You know, Jax, you and I can. You can hand me your camera, I can hand you mine, and it'd take us 10 minutes to figure our way around it because we've both got different settings.
For sure. That's a really good point. And I think in your line of work too, and I feel like the action sort of based stuff, it's not really so much about the settings. It's about the moment, and it's about capturing the image. And obviously someone yourself who sees light, is quite a visual person who can identify light and shots based on the lighting around it. I think that's a bit more important as settings as well.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, as photographers, now don't take me wrong on this, but as photographers, we shouldn't care about light too much because we should know what it looks like. You know what I mean? It's like we should have already seen it. That should be the first thing to tick off the list. It's like, yep, the light's what I want it.
Yeah.
So I'm not disrespecting light in any way, and I'm lucky enough to have some of the greatest DPs on the planet, you know, light a scene for me. But also, I'll go and explore their world, and I'll pick out little pockets of light which they're not using. So, you know, it's you know, DP's my god on a film set, and you still got to find that light, but it's something that should be second nature to us as photographers. We should just look at it and go, yes, look at that light. It's beautiful.
Sure.
And then work around it from that way.
Awesome. Some of the locations you've traveled to and moments you've shared, is there any that have stood out to you in your career, Jason, as some like pinch yourself moments, or is that sort of happening every movie you're on now?
Man, I went to Everest Memorial. It's like, shoot at 5,100 and I think it's 5,164 meters.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and base camp, and it's like I get to go there for work. And I had 10 days liveaboard on an aircraft carrier. You know, it's Captain Phillips. Captain Phillips was awesome. We'd be on the carrier, and then to get down to the camera boats to do the pirates, we'd have to climb down Phillips ladder, and it's just like, you know, just these experiences. Honestly, I've led a blessed life, and I'm so lucky to experience what we do. You know, just the other day, you know, I was talking to someone who I worked with on No Time to Die, the James Bond film. Yep. And we're in another insane location. I'm like, look at our lives. We go around on these films to these locations that most people never get to see. You know, forget Instagram and that sort of stuff. It's like, it's just the experiences you just can't buy. And we get paid for these experiences. It's not like we're forking out the cash.
Yeah, amazing. Just quickly, what advice for those at home that do want to follow in the footsteps of a Jasin Boland or some legendary photographers? What sort of advice would you give to start making those moves happen?
Well, I'll be legendary when I'm dead, hopefully. But to make it happen, listen, guys, there's no shortcuts. I mean, I joke about it. I was a 15-year overnight success. You got to start at the bottom. The way to do it is to get into your local theatre, to go to your university and work on student films, build up a portfolio.
Yep.
Now, not only building up a portfolio, but if you get out there doing stills on short films and student films, there's no reason why that director isn't going to be the next George Miller or Paul Greengrass or whoever. You've got to build those relationships, and from the very, very beginning, and it's not easy. You don't sit there and think I'm going to do it straight away. It took me forever, and I could lose it instantly as well. But just keep at it. Keep the blinkers on and just go, this is what I want. You can be the photographer you dream to be, but you have to keep dreaming it and believing it. And there's no reason that anyone can't do it. It's interesting because I think, funnily enough, the closest to what I do is probably wedding photography, and wedding photographers probably understand it, what I'm saying here. And, sometimes they get the short end of the stick, but I'm telling you, and you got to agree that they make the most beautiful images in the world. And they're selling something just the same as what I am. And, you've got a client which is very, very fussy and wants the best. And, I don't know if I explained it quite well enough there, but
I think any advice from someone who is been there and still doing it, I think that's pretty good advice to me. And I feel like you've got it through hard work and perseverance. And what sort of qualities would you say make up that you, Jasin, and what sort of qualities do you think you admire in people coming through?
Super question. It's being user friendly. I mean, there's a lot of people that, I've met over the years that, you go and do a deal and then you spend a whole film complaining about it. It's like you do your deal, you suck it up regardless of, what's happened, and you get on with it and you change it next time, because it's no one else's problem that you agreed to something. And, there's a friend of mine, just before I go on, but Nicola Dove, who shot the main unit on No Time to Die, the last Bond film, she has an online college called the Film Stills Academy. If I hate shortcuts, but if there's going to be a shortcut, it's with her, and she's a really good teacher as well as a world-class photographer. So there are those avenues now which weren't available, when I was starting out. It's like, I got kicked out of photography school. I nearly got fired on my first film job, and it's success only comes from failure, right? You guys out there, if you're having a few failures, there's nothing wrong with that. I fail every day, and then I learn from it. You've got to learn from it, and then then the success button will just snap. It's like, boom, now I get it. And so, go out there and fail. It's fine, but just make sure you dream about the success, because that'll come too if you persevere with it. You're never going to get good at doing something if you're just doing it, bits and pieces. You've got to really put your head into it.
Great, Jasin. That's really good advice. Last thing as well, I just wanted to cover. How do you stay energized or motivated during sets? Because these are probably long days for you, Jasin, that you're going through, and there's going to be those moments where there might be a little bit of downtime, but then you've got to get straight back into it. How do you find you can keep yourself motivated and keep yourself ticking on just to take that next great photo that's coming next, basically?
Well, to start with, knowing that there's the possibility of getting a great image, that's your Red Bull right there.
Yep.
But between it, to keep myself active or chilled, I don't know, that's a juxtaposition, but
Mm.
it's, you know, it's to keep myself on a level, I guess, is I like to do my edit. And, you know, I'll go through the previous days or even the current days. And, you know, if I've shot a great image, well, I shouldn't say if I've shot a great image, if I've shot an image that that appeals to me and that I'm excited about, I can't wait to go and, you know, download it and start my edit. And I think that comes from the newspaper days and deadlines. And, you know, I want to punch that image out and check it out myself. And, so yeah, I try and do, you know, I try and do my edits at work. I've spent so much of my life and so much of my time doing work at home when I should have been doing work at work.
Nice. Well, it obviously goes to show the value of loving what you do as well, Jasin, because it's obviously something that keeps you motivated and keeps you young to a degree. And it looks like something that you're still very passionate about, just the way you speak about it and everything that you give back to photographers, which, you know, is truly admirable to find the time to be able to do that as well, which we really appreciate tonight. You've been an amazing resource, and learning about you has been amazing. So we really appreciate all the time that you've given us, because we know how do people be able to see more of your work? Jasin, have you got any links that you wanted to share?
Yeah, Jack's just my Instagram. You know, I put all my current stuff. Put all my current stuff up there, and and thanks very much for those. You know, I really do love what I do, and to be honest, I'm doing my best work now, and well, maybe not now, maybe it'll be tomorrow. You know, I mean, I don't know. Do I do my? I really believe that my best work is still to come, and and I'm lucky enough that I've got some. And I'm at the age or the point in my career where it's refining. So that refining, I think, is that's what photography is really about, is refinement of your style.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah. And anyone at home that wants to learn a bit more about gear and wants to learn a bit about what it takes to be a great photographer, definitely check out Jasin's YouTube channel as well. You're still a bit active on Twitter too, Jasin. I see some snippets here and there as well. So check out Jasin's Twitter page. So I don't know how he's handling all his social media at once, but he's doing a pretty good job. But yes, thank you very much for joining us, Jasin. We could probably spend another couple of hours talking about it, but I appreciate all the time that you've given us tonight.
Thanks, buddy. We should maybe give it another crack sometime and just pick one film and have a giggle.
100% part 2, I reckon. Awesome. Thanks, Jasin. Have a good evening. So thank you very much for Jasin for joining us tonight. Wealth of knowledge, a guy who's been a stills photographer starting from The Matrix into the Bourne films. He's done James Bond, a lot of the Thor pictures as well. He's just been a great resource tonight, and he's given us a lot of information to think about. And for anyone at home that wants to join in on the fun, make sure you like and subscribe on the CameraPro AU Facebook page, Instagram, and our YouTube channel. But thank you very much for joining us. Have a great evening, and I hope you learned something.